Today on Rescue 911, the littlest hero.
Is Mommy breathing? No. She's not?
A 3-year-old little girl is her mother's only hope for rescue.
With an allergic reaction, you don't have a whole lot of time.
When someone's sick, you call 911.
Plus, a loaded weapon.
I went upstairs to bed, totally forgetting about my gun.
Could cost a child his life.
I thought he was going to die there.
How can this tragedy be prevented? Rescue 911.
All the medical skills available can't help save a life if rescuers aren't able to get to their victim. Shortly after 12 noon on March 28, 1994, emergency workers in Denton, Texas received just such a call.
Okay, County 911. Oh, you gotta hurry up. I'm into my house. What's happening? I think I'm having an allergic reaction to some antibiotics. Okay, stay on the phone with me. Just a moment.
Sheriff's dispatcher Karen Loader took the call.
Hang on. I need all dial.
Okay, 168 Hilltop Road. Okay.
Allergic reaction.
You still there?
Unit, stand by for page.
But the line went dead. When there's a severe allergic reaction, death can be the result if help is not obtained quickly.
When we continue.
Okay, how old are you?
My main concern was that her mom could be dying. And my immediate reaction, once I got an ambulance on the way, was to attempt to reestablish contact with my caller. I was dialing the phone when another 911 line came in.
County 911.
Yeah, Mama's sick.
Okay, are you at 168 Hilltop?
Yeah.
Okay, is your mama's name Patricia Thrash?
I now knew that my caller was not alone in the house, that at least there was a child there.
An ambulance on the way. Is Mommy breathing?
No.
She's not?
You put it in her pants.
Huh?
You put it in her pants.
Okay, how old are you?
3.
3? Are you there by yourself?
Yeah.
There's nobody else there, just you and Mom?
My main concern for this child was that her mom could be dying and that she would be alone in the house, because with an allergic reaction, you don't have a whole lot of time.
Dad too.
Okay, where is he?
He's at work.
Okay. What's his name?
Mike.
Mike Thrash?
Yeah.
Do you know where he works?
He works at his church.
At his church?
Uh-huh.
Is he a preacher?
No. He's a dad.
He's a dad?
We have a 3-year-old child on the phone. The mother is not breathing.
Sheriff's deputy Andy Formicella was on patrol when the call came in.
The area where I was dispatched to is semi-rural. The numbers on mailboxes are supposed to run in a specific order, but often they do not. Numbers have been changed, or they just have not put the number on the box at all. So we have a great deal of trouble finding locations out there.
What's your name?
My mom calls me Allie.
Allie? Where is Mommy?
What's just sleeping?
Huh?
She's in here sleeping on her pillow.
Okay, is she in bed?
No, she's sleeping on the floor like a little pig.
When she described the breathing as Mom was laying there like a little pig, I had to go on the assumption that her breathing was very labored, and I felt my own heart jump.
Can you hand the phone to Mommy?
Mama didn't feel good.
Can the phone reach her?
No. When someone's sick, you call 911.
Allie, I need to talk to Mommy.
Yeah, I called you.
Yeah, I know. But I need to talk to her some more.
I was concerned that perhaps her mother was at that point not breathing.
Denton fire paramedic Don Lauer and his partners had been dispatched to the scene.
We haven't yet found 168B. Can you give us any other landmarks?
Knowing that each minute that ticked by could be critical for this patient, I became very impatient because I could not find this address, and Hilltop Road is about 5 miles long.
I don't know where we are.
We knew we were close, but close doesn't count.
Can you tell me what color your house is, Allie? What color is your house?
Blue and white. Miss Karen asked me what color my house was. I told her it was blue and white.
You live in a house or in a trailer, Allie?
In a house.
In a house, okay.
I was hoping that Allie could give me some sort of a landmark, a building, a fence line, almost anything that could give my deputies and the fire department personnel in the area something to aim for.
What color is Mommy's car?
Red.
Red? Are you where you can see outside?
See outside, the car's outside.
The car's outside? There's a red car outside?
No.
Okay.
The cow is outside.
The cow?
Yeah.
Do you have a cow?
I don't have a cow.
But you see cows outside? Huh?
There's one cow. There's one cow.
Hearing that there was just cows when she looked out her window, I was ready to just throw my hands in the air and hope for a psychic to appear.
Can you hear anything? Can you hear any sirens?
No.
No?
I'm going to tell my mom I called the doctor.
Well, that's real good, honey. We'll tell Mommy in a little bit, okay? We're trying to get some help there, but I can't really tell where you are.
I'm at home.
Okay.
I saw the red car in the driveway and shouted down to the EMS personnel that this was probably the house.
Over here. Sheriff's Department.
Is there anyone there at your house? There is? No, not by. Just go open the door, honey. She's coming. She's coming.
It's there. My mama said.
Wake up. Wake up. Wake up these officers. They're in the house.
When I heard the deputy's voice and the paramedics come in the house and heard them calling Mrs. Thrash, I was just so relieved.
Within 16 minutes of the initial call for help, the rescue workers arrived on the scene.
She was red from head to toe, and her breathing was shallow.
Have you taken some drugs?
When a person is in anaphylactic shock, they can go from life to a death situation very rapidly.
All right, let's get some high flow oxygen on her. 15 liters.
We had asked her if she had been bitten by an insect, and the one word she was able to utter to us was Keflex, and that told us right away it was an antibiotic type drug that she was prescribed.
While Deputy Formichella stayed with Allie, paramedics radioed Denton Regional Medical Center, where emergency physician Randy Parks was on duty.
Medical control. When the paramedics encountered this patient, she appeared very ill and likely not to survive.
So respirations are 16 and shallow.
I think that this case would have resulted in a fatality for the mother if the child had not called 911.
36-year-old Lynn Thrash was treated at the hospital and released that same day.
What's that mean? No, give me a kiss.
Lynn will always be indebted to her 3-year-old daughter, Allie.
First thing I did when I saw Allie was give her a huge hug and kiss and just praised her and thanked her and told her how proud I was of her and that because of her, Mama was alive.
That Eskimo kiss. Eskimo kiss?
Yeah.
You do the Eskimo kiss?
I just don't have words for how wonderful I feel about what she did.
We was camping, wasn't we?
Look at Jason right there.
My mama's so proud of me.
That's fine.
Mama said, thank you for saving my life. What's your stupid me? I love my mommy, and I'm glad she's okay.
Oh, no, what do I do?
Let's get my money.
Your turn.
Lynn's husband, Mike, is also very grateful.
I just want to thank all the people that helped to find my house, the officers that were there, the ambulance people that was there, and of course the 911 operator. She was great.
No, this way.
I couldn't believe she kept Allie on the phone for over 20 minutes, but it worked out for the best.
The reason the rescue workers had so much trouble finding the Thrash family's house was that it had a different address on it.
Everyone needs to be aware of the fact that their home and their mailbox need to be numbered, their name needs to be on their mailbox, the number needs to be on the house.
1, 2, 3, go under.
All right, buddy, give me up.
She did something that was just really great, something that you really don't expect out of a 3-year-old.
Are you gonna hold your breath?
I'm about the proudest dad in the whole world of a little girl that I love very much.
Smart. Because I got 911.
Next.
He looked like he was almost going to pass out. I was just shaking. I knew until the ambulance got there, the only one that could help him was gone.
Though Stephen Gillespie had a full-time job as a police officer, he also took other work nights and weekends. The long hours were exhausting, and oftentimes his wife and kids were already asleep when he got in, as was the case on June 23, 1991, when he returned to his home in Edgewood, Maryland, shortly after 1 a.m.
At the time, I was working 3 jobs, and normally at that point, I would go directly upstairs and put my gun away. That night, I didn't do that. I went to read some of my Bible before I went to bed because church was the next day, but I was pretty tired. I don't know how long I was sleeping. I went upstairs to bed, totally forgetting about my gun.
Around 8 o'clock that morning, 7-year-old Jason headed to the basement to watch TV.
I went downstairs. I was watching all my favorite shows.
What do you want for breakfast?
Then my brother and my mom came down.
Christopher, put that down.
I knew it was dangerous.
Put it down,
And I tried to take the gun away.
You're going to get in trouble from Dad.
I tried to tell him to let go, but he didn't let go.
Ooh. Give me it. Christopher, put it back.
It just slipped down and shot him.
Jason was screaming, and I started hearing Christopher cry. He had blood coming out of his chest. All I could think about was getting help.
Steven! Call 911!
I could hear Angela yelling up to me.
What?
He's been shot! Call 911!
I dialed the 911, and it sounded like somebody else was dialing the phone.
Daddy?
I just knew that if I didn't call 911, my brother was going to die.
Members of the Joppa Magnolia Volunteer Fire Company were immediately dispatched to the scene.
Get your gun out.
He went pale white. Every muscle on his face just dropped.
Knowing that your son had gotten shot as a result of your negligence, it's just a feeling of someone taking a shovel of bricks and putting them on your shoulder.
Let me get some towel.
I knew that I had to apply pressure on the wound to slow down the bleeding. He stopped crying, and he looked like he was almost going to pass out.
Stay with us. Look at Mommy.
I was just shaking.
Stay with
I knew
us.
until the ambulance got there, the only one that could help him was God.
It was scary because I thought he was going to die there. And he was the only brother I had.
Volunteer EMT Chris Leverton was asleep at home just up the street when the call came across his pager.
I know it hurts, pal. Steven, you'll be all right. Chris.
When I saw Christopher lying there, I just couldn't believe what had happened. He was somebody you see outside every day playing with the other children.
Yeah.
They're so small and innocent. You don't feel like anything should have to happen to them. They're too young to deserve that kind of pain.
Volunteer EMT Jeff Wainwright was on his way home from the station just a few blocks away when he heard the report of the shooting.
I know it hurts, pal. You're doing good.
The boy was very pale and was having trouble breathing.
Where's he been shot at?
When a bullet goes into a body, it's just like a ping pong ball. It can route around in the body and do an awful lot of damage to major organs.
What do you got, Jeff? Yeah, I got 3 ultimate shot in the chest.
He would move his lips once in a while, and he would talk to me. I wouldn't hear what he said. It was just really faint.
Christopher, can you feel this, babe?
I thought, is he going to just pass out and stop breathing?
What we're going to do, we're going to get a backboard on him.
Christopher lost a lot of blood.
An adult can compensate for blood loss a lot longer than a child can. We had to get him to a trauma center as quickly as possible.
The closest trauma center was more than 40 miles away, so Christopher was transferred to a medevac helicopter to be taken to Johns Hopkins Children's Center. He was admitted under the care of pediatric surgeon Chuck Patus.
3-year-old shot at close range.
He had a sucking chest wound. What that means is there was an injury to the lung underneath, which is allowing things to move back and forth as he breathed in.
They have major vessel injury.
We had no idea where this bullet had wandered. We needed to get to the operating room as soon as we could.
Hey, buddy, how you doing? I love you.
And you could just see his lips move, and he said, I love you. But you couldn't hear him say it.
Take care, all right? Okay, let's go.
And I just fell apart after that. And because of my negligence, I might not see my son again.
I knew Christopher was in the best of care. My greatest fear was between both Jason and Steven putting so much guilt upon themselves. The hardest part would be picking up the pieces.
Love you.
Ready?
Christopher has completely recovered from the injuries he suffered in the shooting.
Good try.
Christopher is as rambunctious as he was back then. I see his fingerprints on the walls, and I kind of smiled.
Ready?
Because I know I've really been blessed.
Cool. My brother shot me in the stomach. And I started here. I went on the helicopter. I went going around. Going around. And flying up the air. And the doctor fixed me.
Christopher was a very lucky child. Being shot at very close range could have resulted in a number of injuries that could have killed him right at the scene.
The hardest part was that it didn't have to be this way, you know. You always go back to the beginning. I can probably remember maybe one other time that I'd go directly upstairs and store my gun out of all the times that I've come in the house.
This can happen in any town right down the street from anybody.
There you go. There we go.
It's very important for parents to know that they've got to teach their children at a young age about the dangers of guns.
Kids should know not to play with real guns. You can kill somebody. The happiest thing about this is my brother's back and I get to play with him again. I try to take care of him now. I love my brother a lot.